Serial killers love preying on the weak. The distracted, naive, and impoverished make the best victims to these killers. What would be the best defense against these predators? This is why I love to research as much as possible on them. If you have any questions, suggestions, or questions in general about serial killers, please leave them in the comments section and I'll be more than happy to respond. Well, if you're ready, let's get started. August of 1991, in the country of France, a 20-year-old woman by the name of Isabella Neenan left her job to meet up with a friend like most people do at the end of a hard day of work. Isabella was known to her friends to be very kind, gentle, and very helpful. She enjoyed her life and always wanted to help others. She wasn't sure which direction she was going to go with her life, but in the meantime, Isabella just worked to support herself. At the parking lot of a local supermarket near her job, she was approached by an unknown person. This individual requested some assistance with carrying a heavy object. This sounds suspect already. This was done under the pretense of the individual being injured and incapable of lifting a heavy object all alone. Isabella was skeptical at first due to the time in the evening and being approached in the middle of a parking lot with no witnesses. Although she was in a rush to meet up with her friend for dinner, she was such a nice person that she was unable to disappoint anyone that was in need of her help. She agreed to help the stranger as long as they didn't need to go too far and it wouldn't take too long. The stranger agreed, but unfortunately, that would be the last time she'd be seen alive. Mental note for all women: you can't be nice in a cruel world. Several months later, a couple of hunters stumbled across a body of a naked woman in the woods. The police responded and initially assumed that it was a suicide. The autopsy determined even more. Along with the fact that the woman had been raped, the woman's head had been bashed in with an iron rod before the body had been dumped. The head of the woman had an imprint left behind in the form of an iron rod right against her skull. I'm sorry, how the hell does someone commit suicide by bashing their own head in? Maybe we live in two different worlds. The female was identified as Isabella, September of 1991. Isabella Christopher, who worked at the same supermarket where Isabella Neenan was last seen alive, went to leave her job that evening when she was approached by an unknown person. This villain stated that it was impossible to carry the large object alone due to being impaired with a handicap. Isabella, out of the kindness of her heart, agreed to help this stranger. Here we go with the niceness again. The stranger rewarded her as soon as she got out of eye and earshot of help by punching, kicking, and stomping her unconscious. And then he proceeded to rape her lifeless body. Afterwards, the killer finished killing Isabella by bashing her skull in with that iron rod. See, this is how serial killers say thank you. Can't be nice at the expense of your own safety. Due to the nature of crimes, the police did an investigation on all sex offenders residing nearby. Although the authorities had their suspicions of one particular sex offender, there wasn't enough evidence to detain the suspect any further. February 1992, an unidentified man observed a woman with a disabled vehicle nearby the same supermarket. One of the vehicle's tires had been flattened. Unbeknownst to this victim, that same attacker cut her tires intentionally before she had arrived. The man went and provided the woman with assistance in changing her flat tire. After the vehicle was fixed, the killer was very persuasive with that woman to follow him in her car to some nearby place where she can wash off the dirt from the tire change. She followed him with her car around the corner, then on foot into the basement near his residence. When they were eventually alone, the stranger attacked her by beating her unconscious. Afterwards, he raped her and then bashed her head in with an iron bar. Police decided to interview the local known sex offenders again. This time, one of the offenders heard the police were coming to question him, and he fled the country to Belgium. This killer was identified as Vincenzo Alturno. The police were able to determine that the first two homicides took place near his job, which was at a construction site by the supermarket. The third murder victim was killed in a basement, which was practically next door to Vincenzo's home. The Belgian police located and arrested Vincenzo. Initially, he confessed to the Belgian police about the murders, giving details about each of the murders in France. They in turn provided the information to the French authorities. He then recanted his testimony and fought against extradition to France. During his confinement, he denied being responsible for the murders in France and even implicated his own brother as the killer. A year later, he was extradited to France to face 3 murder charges. A psychological evaluation was completed on Vincent, and he was diagnosed as an incurable psychopath. They continue to waste money on evaluating psychopaths, Crazy is just crazy. There is no different flavors of crazy. He was given a trial and was found guilty for all 3 murders. Vincenzo was given life imprisonment with an additional 18 years. If you enjoyed more stories such as these, just click on one of these suggested videos. God bless you and stay safe.